All right, welcome back to Realize Yourself, and I am Mark. Here we go. In today's episode or video, we're going to talk about the Egyptian Book of the Dead. This is a really fascinating book that really exemplifies self realization from a different perspective, from the Egyptian perspective. And here's an overview of the Egyptian Book of the Dead. It's properly known as the Book of Coming Forth by Day, originating around 1550 to 1500 BC at the start of the New Kingdom. It evolved from earlier traditions, namely the pyramid texts of 2400 BC and coffin texts from 2000 BC. It transitioning from royal tomb inscriptions to spells written on papyrus for widespread use. The earliest spells identified as belonging to the Book of the Dead appear on the coffin texts from the 13th dynasty around 1700 BC. Widespread use was by the 17th dynasty. Uh, Usage spread beyond royalty to officials and elites, becoming standardized. And then the texts were not a single book, but a collection of 165,000 spells, evolving over 1,000 years, with the earliest spells dating back to the 3rd millennium BC, and later additions continuing into the 3rd intermediate period, which is the 11th to 7th centuries BC. The texts were extensively compiled, edited, and placed on papyrus scrolls during the 6th century BC. It remained in use throughout the New Kingdom until the Ptolemaic period, roughly ending around 50 BC. So let's go over specifically how the Egyptian Book of the Dead uh, really exemplifies self-realization and is directly related to self-realization. It's interesting to note that some of the earliest Vedic texts, such as the Rig Veda, are dated to 1500 BC, so roughly the same period of time, which makes you think and wonder how two those cultures cross-pollinated each other. What was it, the Egyptians that went to the India, or was it India that went to the Egyptians? And in the book, I make a case that the knowledge from India went to Egypt and the rest of the world. But here we go. This is on the Egyptian Book of the Dead. What the Egyptian Book of the Dead actually is, it's not one book, and it's not about death the way we think about it. Its real name is the Book of Coming Forth by Day. That really tells you a lot. Coming forth means emergence or awakening. By day is into consciousness, clarity, or light. It's a collection of spells, hymns, affirmations, and instructions meant to guide a soul through the Duat, the underworld, and into eternal life. The Duat isn't just a place, it's a state of consciousness. For the Egyptians, death was initiation. Death is transformation, not an ending. The Egyptians believe you live many lives. Each life is a chance to remember who you really are. Remember, know thyself. Realize the self. Same thing. Physical death mirrors an inner process you can change while alive. So the Book of the Dead is really about how to die to the false self, the egoic self, and awaken as the eternal one, the real self. That's basically straight self-realization in a nutshell, is what it's showing us. The soul's components, this is really important. The Egyptians didn't think you were just a body and a soul. You had layers. So they had the Khat, Khat, which was the physical body, the Ka, Ka, the life force or the vital energy, the Ba, the Ba, personality or individuality, the Ib, or the heart, the seat of consciousness, not emotion. And the heart is where the self resides according to the Upanishads. Remember, I talk about this a lot. Ren, R-E-N, is the name or the identity. Sheut, Sheut, is the shadow or the unconscious aspects. And the Ak is a luminous awakened being, AKH. Self-realization is integrating these parts into the Ak. You don't escape the self, you refine it. The weighing of the heart, this is huge. Everyone knows about the weighing of the heart, the core teaching in the Egyptian Book of the Dead. This is one of the most famous scenes for a reason. After death, your heart or your Ib is weighed against the feather of Mat, which is truth, balance, and cosmic order. If your heart is light, you pass. If it's heavy, it's devoured by Amit, which is ego dissolution. The heart isn't moral in a religious sense. It's about alignment with the truth, with your true self. A heavy heart tells you yourself has unconscious attachments, fear-based identity. Uh, you have avidya or ignorance. You still think you're the body and the mind. You're stuck in this Maya dream world and you think it's real. But to have your heart weighed against a feather, what weighs it less than a feather? Nothing. And so when you realize the self, you become nothing. And in that nothing, you become everything. It's like a clay pot that smashes. You are the space in the clay pot, not the clay pot itself. You are the space, the emptiness in the clay pot. That's the self. That's self-realization. And so the negative confessions or self-knowledge, the soul declares things like, I have not stolen, I have not caused suffering, I have not obscured the truth. These aren't commandments, they're statements of inner clarity. They function like affirmations, psychological inventory, ego detox. Basically, I know myself and I'm not ruled by distortion. That's basically self-realization in ancient form or ancient teachings. I know myself. Know thyself. Knowing the names is mastery of consciousness. So they talk about throughout the book, the soul must know the names of the gates, know the names of the guardians, and the names of the gods. In Egyptians thought, to know the name of something is to have power over it. Symbolically, gates were inner thresholds, guardians are fears, instincts, archetypes, gods are forces of consciousness. So self-realization means you no longer react unconsciously, you recognize what arises in you in that state of awareness. You recognize what arises. You don't attach to it. You don't think you are that mind or that emotion that arises. You're the observer, the witness within that observes. Osiris is an archetype for self-realization. Osiris is killed, dismembered, resurrected, and becomes the lord of the afterlife. Psychologically, this refers to ego death, fragmentation of identity, reintegration at a higher level. Osiris represents the part of you that cannot die, only transform. To be declared Osiris after death meant you've realized your eternal nature. You are no longer bound by time or fear. Coming forth by day is basically enlightenment. It's basically self-realization. The final goal isn't heaven. It's freedom of movement between worlds, conscious participation in reality, unity with Ra, which is the solar consciousness. That's classic self-realization, but fully awake within the world and not escaping it. There's a famous quote, be in the world but not of it. And so that is precisely the same message that you're talking about here, being fully awake within the world and not escaping it. The hidden message, the Book of the Dead, was buried with people, but its wisdom was meant to be practiced while alive. In modern times, the Duat is your unconscious, the monsters are unexamined fears, the spells are unintentional awareness, the judgment is radical self-honesty. Self-realization is making your heart so light that nothing needs to be defended. Only the ego, only the false self needs to be defended. The summary, Ancient Book of the Dead is an ancient guide to awakening, teaching that immortality is not given but realized through self-knowledge, truth, and inner balance. And so that's it. That's the self-summary, and that directly relates to self-realization, realizing the self, your true essence, your true being, not the mind, not the body, not the emotions, but your true self. The Egyptians just had a little bit different way of teaching us, different from the Upanishadic teachings, from the Vedic teachings of the Upanishads. And the Greeks took this Egyptian teachings, either they took it from Egypt or they took it from India, and they slightly had their own slight variants on the same aspect. And this stuff had to be encoded, had to be mysterious, because like we've shown with Plato's cave, the masses were not meant to have this knowledge. This is the secret of all secrets, and always remember, you are that. Thank you for being here.